Hi, well, it is lymphoma vlog awareness time of year, and of course this year some of you already know this finds me in a very different place, for instance, to last year. The reason for doing these vlogs is to help you potentially keep yourselves well, but tell you about the journey along the road and keep you informed. So 10 years ago I was diagnosed with two types of lymphoma. I have an underlying condition, follicular lymphoma, which is incurable but highly treatable. It's like a very slow glowing thing, and in fact you can have it for a long time without knowing you've got it, and in my case that was probably true. And then because I didn't know I'd got it, it kind of burst forth rather like Alien into a thing called large diffuse B-cell lymphoma, for which I had to have chemotherapy. The things to look out for lymphoma are notoriously hard to really pinpoint unless you get the very obvious one, which is a lump in your throat. I say an obvious one because when you first go to the doctor, they'll look at mumps and other kind of throat infections and things, but it is a kind of key site for a lymph to enlarge. However, if it's one of your other lymphs that are more hidden, then it's not necessarily seen and they don't actually necessarily cause you any pain. In my case, I had tumours, but I had it living in what they call an extranodal site, which in my case was my bone marrow, and that's where the pain was caused. So at that time I thought I was having problems with arthritis, and that was in my left hip, and eventually fast-tracked myself as it was getting so painful. I paid to see a hip specialist who sent me off for a scan, and that was a really good thing to do because it turned out that I had this high-grade cancer. Pretty much the same thing happened again, and you'd think that we'd have all been more aware of this, but the pain this time, we're talking back earlier this year, was in my right hip, so different hip completely. Again, I do have some osteoarthritis. It didn't in my head feel the same, it felt different. I did what I did last time and took myself off for physio and things, and that didn't seem to improve things. So I referred myself to my doctor, who has a physio referral clinic first port of call. I was in a lot of pain by then and she organised some painkillers. My doctor, same doctor as last time, rang me up and said, the scan that you had for your osteoarthritis shows no real degradation for 6 years. And I said, so I'm in all this pain then? He said, well, we don't know that kind of thing. So the only complaint I would have in this process is how is it not on the system that this woman has lymphoma? It presented first of all pain-wise in a hip, and she has hip pain. That's my only complaint about what has gone on in this process, because once again he said to me, so we'll now get you on our physio pathway and then you might see a specialist and all that'll take time. Exactly what they said last time. And I said, I'm bypassing that. And once again, I paid to see exactly the same guy that I saw last time. And his response was, we're not messing about, Joe, you're going straight for a scan. And while we're at it, inform your lymphoma team, which in hindsight I should actually have done earlier on myself. But hindsight's a funny thing, isn't it? Especially when you're convinced you're feeling okay. I didn't have any other symptoms like particular fatigue, itchy skin. These are other things that kind of indicate that you might have lymphoma, and as you can tell, are quite hard things to hold on to. So the long and the short of that process was my lymphoma team said, we're not doing an MRI, you're going straight in for a PET scan. And PET scan's the all singing, all dancing one, where, as I call it, they fill you with nuclear fuel and it lights up your insides and shows you exactly what's going on. And what it showed very clearly was the extranodal site again was my bone marrow on the right-hand side. I had cancer in my right hip and down my thigh bone on the right, and I had I say have because that's actually now gone now, according to a latest scan. And I have a tumour just under my rib cage in the top of my stomach cavity, which is where a lymph is, because they're all round your body, those main parts of your body. And that's the other thing that treatment is for. So that was where the process started this time. I'm several biopsies and a bit of chemo down the road, and I will, over this next week, update you on some of that. Do feel free to ask questions, and keep looking out for yourself. Lumps and bumps, pains, bone pains, if they don't go away, don't always listen to physios or whatever, but keep plugging on in there. These things are very strange and hard to diagnose, so you've got to listen to your body. All right, thanks for listening. Take care of yourself and have a lovely weekend.